Oh, the revive! Oh, I'm so thankful she revived. Oh my god.
7K dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be checking out Mythical Awakened Iris in Arena, and we're gonna jump right into her equipment. I gave her double lethal because she has a skill that increases crit rate by 50%, but I think this is actually only applied on this skill, not exactly her entire crit rate because there's no turn count. I gave her double block as well, and also this Guardian Ring with Purification so that she's able to not be immobilized too often, and also the Guardian Ring will help to give her survivability because I think her defenses and HP is pretty low, so she definitely needs that. And her jewels survive with 1 HP, physical attack increase with defense, and crit and lethal rate increase. So her crit and lethal rate can allow her to do better damage, as we will see later on. So I think this is quite a good set for her. And for her Fighter Soul, increased damage basically, and block rate, and as well as crit rate increase. For her limited traits, you have 3 resistances. This will really depend on your team, okay, how you want to mix and match them. If you have Cult on the offensive team, then you don't need Paralyzed Resist, right? And this is the first team I'll be using obviously for offensive heroes. This is going to be the standard offensive team but with anti, because I realized that many people now, despite offensive team, will use anti instead of red grid. So, because anti is just way too cancerous. Too toxic really. The skill notification with reset awakens here is just absolutely gross. So the standard offensive units, 5 villains and cult, okay, I think it's very hard to really leave them. So the only person I can sub out is Gerard, Jack or Fenrir, and then we have Iris here. And hopefully she uses the skill soon. For her passive, she does have the 50% chance to evade all attacks, which is actually really good. In so many circumstances, she has evaded so many attacks and just lived all the way through the match. She also increases defense of all allies, excluding herself, by 5% every turn, up to 50%, and that means it will take 11 turns for this to be maxed out, which I think is a little way too slow because damage comes in right at turn 3 or turn 4, and if you don't have skill notification by then what is the purpose of the passive? Because it's just not helping. Like, I still take extremely big damage from my enemies, and it really is almost negligible, So I think that passive could be worked better, unfortunately. So she didn't really do much in this match, but I'm assuming that she's buffing my defense. No, but this kind of damage still comes in, so it's sometimes really difficult because I've been trying her in so many team comps. I ran about 30 matches and the win rate is really low for some reason, and I think it has to do with the way she's being used in these teams, or maybe it could be just the arena tier, because my arena tier is at Supreme, and I think Supreme is a very difficult place to really test heroes for what they can do, because you do need proper setups, you do need stamps, you do need polished weapons for things to work well. And maybe because of this, I can't really test her out and showcase her, unlike in Grand maybe. So yeah, these are some factors that we have to consider in this review. I have seen that she can potentially do pretty good damage. Later on we'll check that out. So I don't think that she's bad per se. I think her skill set is actually pretty well thought out. Okay, the bleed magnification, and also the ability to apply fear. Like, she's a blue frame hero, mind you. She can apply fear. Okay, but the thing is, when there's so many antis running around, it's very difficult for fear to even happen in the first place, right? So that line of fear in her skill set, I think, is pretty negligible because of anti. So don't expect her to be doing much. I'm pretty surprised I can obliterate this offensive team because, nothing much happened from my Iris. She does land the fear though on the enemy anti, And this skill, yeah, you can see it does pretty decent damage with the crit and lethal proccing. Okay, and if it does hit all 3 enemies, oh no, 4 enemies actually, I think that would be pretty nice. Yeah, this was the very epic battle where she was able to survive all the way, revive, and kill off the enemy Phi and the anti, which I'm so surprised of. So it's definitely possible for her to be good, but somehow not here, definitely not here. Or maybe the team comp as well, I'm not too sure, because I've tried her in 3 different teams, as you will see in this video. Like here you did see her proc the lethal and crit, and she did pretty decent damage again, 1v4, you know. So I decided to try her out in the magic team because I want to make use of Abel's counter with her bleed capabilities, so that will do more damage. How bleed works is that it will deal 15% of the target's max HP. Okay, so that's pretty good, I would say, additional damage. And also do remember that Eve here is able to cast bleed as well. So we have you have another bleed unit here, and hopefully this will allow me to break through even better with Abel's counter. So her bottom skill actually has pretty low cooldown with 80 seconds only, right? She should be using her top skill first to land the bleed because it has 100% to cause bleed, and then she should use the bottom skill. But sometimes these things can't be controlled, and I think that's the problem with her having the magnify on a regular skill. Like in this case, she uses the bottom skill first, and it doesn't really help, but it still does pretty good damage. And it's only in these cases where you don't face an anti where you can see the fear being landed. Wow, this is a 1v5 moment, guys, by the way. Yeah, this is extremely rare. I mean, for a new unit, for a new blue frame unit, I think this is pretty significant that she can end up in this situation whereby that's pretty good damage, see right there. Ignore 70% defense and also deals 350% to 4 enemies. And the fear missed, and she's still going. Like I said, the cooldown is actually pretty low. And with lethal, I gave her lethal, so I think the cooldown is even lower than it is. Unfortunately, she does survive. So her survivability is really good. So I'm in a very mixed position to whether to say she's good, but yeah, I think she'll be insane in lower tier for sure. She technically took down 3 enemies by herself. So here we face a magic team. Not my favorite team to go up against because of the sheer power that they have. Oh yes, one more thing is that with her Awaken skill, she's able to decrease debuff duration of all allies by 3 turns. And that is a pretty unique skill. It's very different. Whereby, we have never had an effect like that. It is kind of like a cleanse, but it's not exactly a full cleanse. It's a turn cleanse. So it only shortens the duration of the debuff. And I think if you cast that early, which is paired up with her ability to charge her Awaken skill fast, you could potentially, especially for newer and returning players to use her. It's possibly that they are trying to design her for these purposes whereby she can clear the buff block without an appropriate usage of anti or Dylan's. Maybe they are trying to remove Dylan's. I don't know. Or whoever that cleanses so that you can actually use Iris instead of those who cleanse. Now that's one possible thought I have. Yeah, or they could introduce debuffs that are not able to be cleansed in future. Right, that's one possible thing. So then duration shortening is gonna be a new kind of mechanic that maybe more heroes will have. Again, in this case, she does survive all the way to the end with Abel, which is very, very amazing. And there we go, the revive. Sometimes you forget that she has not revived. So revive with the evasion, I think we all know how that works with anti, except that, you know, for Iris it's only 50% chance to evade. Yeah, so on the magic team, I think she's still okay, but of course there's so many fails, and yeah, I recorded the magic team for like 40 minutes, so this Abel is really out to get me. Yeah, it's not always smooth, and the rate of winning is really bad somehow. Okay, she just doesn't gel. In fact, when I was using Daya with this combination, it works so much better, so that is why I feel that it could be just a team for her, it's not right yet. I even tried her on this universal team, okay, because I wanted to again make use of Abel's counter, and Judas does also cast bleed and poison, so that's probably something that I could also make use of. She did cast the bleed right away, so I think in this match we'll probably see more of the bleed and Abel combination happening like in this case. So yes, as I said, bleed does 15% of the enemy's max HP, so it will slowly chip things off, and even anti here, she hits the red grid. So if you pair that with dimensional attack, I think it is all this extra chip damage that could really help. But of course, you know, you have to time everything properly, and there's really no possible way that we could do this unless we have some manual control. For her effect attack, she does land 5000 fixed damage every time she uses it, and she has 100% chance to use effect attacks. So that's pretty good, I like that. The fear does go through, which is great, because this team doesn't use anti, so... your chance of winning right now in the meta with if you face a team without anti is, I would say, a little higher. Yeah, it's definitely a little higher. Because there are still some very strong offensive teams that can destroy you. Like this offensive team is living very long. Okay. Probably because there's a lack of magic buffs and all that. I think she evaded this basic attack from Dylan's as well, so the evasion is clutch. And I think we have to give some credit for Iris in this match because of her bleed and the counters from Abel, because without that I wouldn't be able to do some chip damage off the enemies. And I think that was a little crucial to the success as well. Yeah, as you can see, she doesn't take that much damage somehow. Like, her damage taken is comparable to what Wukong is taking as well, despite her not having the defense increase on herself. So I think that's pretty amazing, but that could be due to her exclusive item, which increases defense by 20% for herself, and I think that is what actually can make her, you know, as bulky as other mythical awakened heroes, because otherwise her stats are probably going to be quite bad considering she's a blue frame only. So here we are facing a magic team. Whenever I face enemies with Rudy, I think the damage I do is gonna be severely nerfed, so I'm not expecting much. I'm just hoping that she's able to survive, and at least I have something to talk about. As long as she survives, at least her buff is going. Her defense increase buff for my allies is increasing, so I'm really hoping that that works. But then again, you know that it's a turn-based buff. It's a buff that increases by turn. So, it only starts applying after the buff block is removed. So if you don't cleanse, if you don't have a cleanser, you're not gonna get the buff until turn 6. That is gonna be a huge problem, and she only increases it by 5% every turn. So that is why I feel that it's kind of like a not really good passive, to be honest.
균열을 만들고
It's only at this point whereby I start getting more bulk because at turn 5 I think my anti cleanse, which is a little late. So it's only now that Iris's passive is kicking in and we are getting like what 10% already, which is pretty low, honestly. But if you think about it, it's the same as what Rudy has, because Rudy increases 10% for himself and he shares that with, you know, he shares half of it with his allies per turn. So it's kind of the same as Rudy, just that Rudy does also increase block rate.
날 거스르는 자들이 분노를 내려주마. 미안하다. 내가 이러기까지 굳이 숨을 써야겠나? 이건 어떠실까요?
So I think this match also went pretty well. She did do good damage if you saw earlier with her awakened skill. Decent damage, I would say. I mean, again, we're into grief.
내가 이길 거야.
쉬거라, 여보.
달려들어. 전부 날려버려.
쉬거라, 여보.
Unfortunately, she didn't land a fear on Julius. That would be so epic. Have a taste of his own medicine.
돌아가. 이건 어떠신가요? 돌아가. 아직 안 되는. 내가 이러기까지 굳이 숨을 써야겠나? 쉬거라, 여보. 잠시 쉬고만.
약 보면
So yeah,
거라고.
that was her in Universal Team, and of course there are so many more kills as well. Most of the time when I use Universal Team, she doesn't last all the way, and in this case she did last all the way 1v3, but you know, she still couldn't do much, and always the outnumbering is so real. Usually Judas will last all the way to the end, but still. So I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you did, do give a like and subscribe to my channel. Big shout out to my channel members ZMD Phoenix and Yamaki for the support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much and see you!